Tests are normally computer-based tests. They have multiple choice questions, MCQs. So what happens is we have to just grasp the subject, understand the subject, and retain it just for recollection, not for recall. Recall is not necessary. Just a simple recollection is enough. Means he gives 4 options a question and 4 options. If to recall, it may be a little bit difficult, but to recollect, it should be easy on seeing the options. So there's no problem. So depending upon that, our discussions go only in the shape of this bullet points. That only goes like this. So we have come up to the 3 levels of understanding: memory level, understanding level, reflective level. Today, let us look into what are the characteristics of teaching. Characteristics of teaching means how the teaching should be helpful and what should be the character of teaching to be helpful to the students. To be helpful to the students in the manner that it improves their knowledge base and it helps them to improve their knowledge. That's the thing. So the characteristics of teaching here are to provide guidance and training. So the learner should be guided at various levels, as we have discussed. The guidance in respect of memory level teaching is different. Guidance in respect of understanding level is different, and guidance in respect of reflective level is different. So depending upon the different levels of teaching learning processes, they have to go with providing necessary guidance. And at the same time, training also. Guidance means for their work to guide them how to proceed with their studies. And training means they should be able to give them certain practical examples, and also practical examples and live problems and the real-time problems, real-time discussions, all these things. And training also, training in the sense how to face the real-time situations and how to draw solutions for various problems. That is what training includes. And also to make them used to the practices of good learning and good obtaining good results. This is the what is intended here in to provide guidance and training. Then teacher should have confidence on the subject for effective teaching. As I said, why we are made to know all these things through the syllabus is because basically we are being tested to hold the post of an assistant professor. Means it's a teacher basically. So we should know how a teacher should be, how a teacher can be useful to the student to the maximum extent. That is important. So teacher should have confidence on the subject for effective teaching. Now I am teaching. When can I teach it properly and confidently? If I have a grip over the subject, if I am not sure on the subject, and if I am not well read or well learned on the subject, I will not be able to deal it with confidence. When I am not seen in confidence, definitely you don't believe me. You don't get positive training from me. So for giving you positive training, the important thing is my teaching and a teacher's teaching should be very, very confident and concrete. For this, the teacher should have an absolute grip over the subject what he is teaching. Next thing is, these are characteristics of teaching, means also they are characteristics of the teacher minded. Then teaching is a communication of information to students. This is not totally the idea behind teaching, just not communication of information. For that, newspapers are enough, not a teacher. It is not just communication of information, but the basic thing is only communication of information. When you are adding to the knowledge base of the learner, you are giving him a lot of knowledge, a lot of information about several things not known to him prior to this learning process. Therefore, it is basically the communication of information to the students. Then teaching is a social science. Then if any subject arises, it will be discussed what is it, what is that subject can be categorized as. We know so many categories of subjects are there, branches are there: engineering, agriculture, and then social sciences, technical subjects like this. So where is this kept? In which categorization is this teaching learning process? Teaching is kept. That is, teaching is called a social science. Social science means which is useful for making a good citizens, for bringing out good citizens, socially very, very valuable citizens. It brings out, teaching only can bring out such valuable society people, such valuable people useful to the society and responsible towards the society. That is very, very important. So it is called a social science. Why science? Science means it is, this teaching goes in a perfectly scientific manner. Scientific manner in the sense, the teaching depends upon the psychology of the students and how best teaching can be important to the students, in which way to progress through the various subjects, and in which way it is to be presented to them, and in which way they have to be tested about their grasping the teaching, and then in which way they can be improved if they are backlogging on the teaching in their learning process. This is all we can consider as a social science. It is social plus very scientific thing. And then teaching is an art. Teaching is not like any other profession. Teaching is a specialist profession where it is an art. It is described as an art because the teacher, not only having a grip over the subject, he should know the psychology of the students. He should be able to catch the attention of the students. If he fails in catching the attention of the students, what happens? They don't pay any attention to what the teacher says. And the teacher and learning process entirely fails. They don't receive any learning from here, and it won't help them in any way. Means teaching does not make sense. So not only the teacher has to have so many other characteristics while teaching, he has to catch the attention of the students, and he has to catch the appreciation of the students, and he has to present in a pleasing manner. He should know how to behave, how to tackle with the students. There will be so many types of people in students also. There will be mischievous people, there will be intelligent people, there will be dull people. So all these people should be dealt fit to their psychology, fit to their status. So that these are all various things which capabilities and capacities which this teacher should possess. So it is an art. To become a good teacher is an art, like a good actor or a good singer. Becoming a good teacher is also an art. And then teaching is a craft. Craft means it should be properly crafted, means the procedure in which teaching proceeds. The procedure in which teaching proceeds should be crafted so perfectly that it suits the development of the thought process of the students. This is what is called teaching is a craft. Then teaching is a moral activity. Teaching does not mean simply transfer of information and academic things. That is not all. You must understand that. That is not totally teaching. That is an important portion. Depending upon the academic schedules in view, that is one of the important points. But teaching is more a moral activity in the sense it should figure out the proper behavior of the students. It should make an absolutely excellent figure to come out after teaching learning process from the school or from the institution into the society. It should shape them as most responsible citizens. This is what is called. It's a moral activity. It should bear much focus on moralities. So this is important. That means the attitudes of the students also should be properly dealt with in this under this condition. And then the teaching is dynamic. It is not static. It should not go the same way always. Teaching is dynamic. It has to go according to the students. It should change its phases according to the students' interests, students' levels, and also the times, and also the society, and also the psychology of the people attending the teaching learning process. So it's a dynamic process. Teaching is diverse. Naturally diverse means it is not unidirectional. It's a multi-directional. It goes in so many directions. It shapes the children's psychology. It tries to improve his knowledge base. It tries to improve his thought process. It tries to improve his attitude. It tries to improve his overall development as a good citizen. This is what is called, it's a diverse, it has a diverse activity, means it has to spread in several directions, not simply the academic routine. That is the important thing. And then teaching is a continuous process. This we have discussed right in the beginning. Teaching is a continuous process, means don't think when you are attending my class, it only makes teaching learning process. Learning is something which goes always through the life of any individual, means not only in the classroom or not only from the teacher. Teaching goes on, teaching and learning goes on in so many ways. Every moment in one's life, means you learn so many things, observing your parents in your childhood, observing your brethren in your childhood, in your boyhood, your friends, and then in your youth, all your peer groups, and all those things. So every moment your teaching learning process will be going on. So it is called a continuous process. It is not limited to the attendance time of an educational institution. That's not all. That is important process. Then teaching can be formal or informal. Informal means, formal teaching means going to an institution, sitting in a classroom with a classroom environment and with all the facilities, etc. That is formal teaching. And informal teaching means, suppose you are running in the corridors or in the arena of the institution or the school, or in a market or in a street, you come across someone, you come across your teacher or a friend. You can discuss with him immediately if you have a doubt. Oh, I got this man. I can get my doubt clarified. You can discuss with him and learn something. So this is what is called informal teaching, learning process. So the teaching learning can go formally and informally also. Then teaching is interactive. Interactive means teaching is not a one-way process. It's a two-way process. In the sense, teaching is not a teacher alone. Teaching requires we said there are three variables in the process of teaching learning. The three variables are teacher, a student, and the study material. These three are the different variables involved in the teaching learning process. Teacher here is called one variable, student is another variable, and subject matter or study material, etc., syllabus, etc., this is another variable. These three variables we have seen, they are given three names. Teacher is an independent variable. Independent variable means teachers behaves in the way he likes. Likes in the sense for the betterment of the student's knowledge base. He goes in the best way he thought to be fit while teaching. Let it be course itinerary or teaching process or teaching aids he uses or the teaching environment he uses, all these things. So he is an independent variable. The student is called a dependent variable. The student is called a dependent variable. Dependent variable means he goes according to the teacher's instructions. How teacher says, the student depends on the teacher's instructions and training, and he goes accordingly. So he is a dependent variable. These are the main things, dependent variable and independent variable. The other variable is the study material or the subject matter. Why? Between the teacher and the student, there is a bonding thing. Otherwise, there is no relation between the teacher and the student. What is the relation that binds teacher and student together is the subject which he learns, which the teacher teaches, and which the student learns. So the binding matter here is the subject matter. So these are the three variables, and we have to remember these things. These are all some technical terms. Don't take them light, because so questions are always set on what is a independent variable, what is an independent variable, what is a dependent variable, and what is all these things. So you have to carefully remember these names. Teacher is an independent variable, student is a dependent variable. This is very, very important. And study material is called an intervening variable. And that means it is the thing which creates a bond between the student and the teacher. So this is what is called interactive. Interactive means teacher teaches, student learns. While learning, Student may get so many doubts, he may need so many clarifications, he may need certain perfect guidances in understanding certain things. For all these things, he needs to raise some questions to the teacher. So he questions, teacher has to answer those things. In fact, teacher has to encourage questioning from the students. A questioning from the student means he is learning something. If there is no questions, that means teaching is not rather proper. Teaching is not going in the right way, and the students probably are not receiving anything from the teaching. If he receives something, and then certainly he will involve in questioning the teacher. So this is what is called a transaction going in between the student and the teacher on the subject matter going on in between them, that which is the intervening variable. So this is the another thing. And then learning can take place without teaching. Learning can take place without teaching means, as I said, children learn not by teaching, by observation. By observation only children learn, not by teaching. ఒకసారి అంటే ఒక చిన్న ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నాకు గుర్తొస్తుంది. ఒక పెద్ద ఆయన ఇంటికి వచ్చారనమాట. ఒక ఆయన ఇంటికి వస్తే బెల్ కొట్టగానే ఒక చిన్న కుర్రవాడు వచ్చాడు. వచ్చి ఏం చేశాడంటే నమస్కారం పెట్టాడు గౌరవంగా. నమస్కారం పెట్టి, నేను చూడండి మీరు ఎవరండి అని అడిగాడు. ఆయన చెప్పారు. ఎవరు కావాలండి అన్నాడు. ఆయన చెప్పాడు. సరే, ఆయన లోపల ఉన్నారండి, నేను పిలుచుకొస్తాను, మీరు కూర్చోండి అన్నాడు. ఆయన కూర్చున్నాడు. ఒక 2 నిమిషాలు అయింది. అబ్బాయి ఒక గ్లాసు మంచినీళ్ళతో తిరిగి వచ్చాడు. వచ్చి ఈయనకు మంచినీళ్ళు ఇచ్చాడు. కొంచెం మంచినీళ్ళు తీసుకోండి, నాన్నగారు పూజ అయిపోయింది, వస్తున్నారు అని చెప్పాడు. తర్వాత ఇంతలో ఆయన ఏం చేశాడు, ఆ అబ్బాయి ఏం చేశాడంటే ఇతనికి మంచినీళ్ళు ఇచ్చిన తర్వాత చేతికి న్యూస్ పేపర్ ఇచ్చి, ఒక 2 నిమిషాలు వెయిట్ చేయండి, వస్తున్నారు అని ఇట్లా చెప్పాడు అనమాట. ఈయనకి చాలా ఆశ్చర్యం. ఇంత చిన్న పిల్లవాడు, వాడు ఎంత ఆఫ్టర్ వాడు ఒక 6-7 ఏళ్ళ కుర్రాడు కూడా కాదు. వాడు ఇంత రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ గా ఉన్నాడు, ఇంత చక్కగా ఎంగేజ్ చేస్తున్నాడే ఇంటికి వచ్చిన గెస్ట్ ని అని ఆశ్చర్యపోయి, ఆ లోపల నుంచి ఆయన వస్తాడనమాట. ఆయన వచ్చిన తర్వాత అడుగుతాడు, అబ్బా నీ పిల్లవాడికి ఇంత మంచి ట్రైనింగ్ ఎట్లా ఇచ్చావా నువ్వు, వాడు ఇంత మంచిగా ఇంత రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ గా ఎలా తయారయ్యాడు అని అడుగుతాడు. నువ్వు ఎలా టీచ్ చేసేవాడికి, వాడికి ఎలా నేర్పించావు అంటే, తండ్రి అంటాడు, నేను వాడికి ఏం నేర్పించలేదండి, ఎప్పుడు నేను వాడికి ఏం చెప్పలేదు అంటాడు. ఈయన ఆశ్చర్యపోతాడు. అప్పుడు చెప్తాడు ఆయన, మనం నేర్పిస్తే దే గో ఎగెనిస్ట్ దట్. నువ్వు ఇలా చెయ్యరా అబ్బాయి అంటే, ఇది చైల్డ్ సైకాలజీ ఈజ్ దట్ హీ వోంట్ డూ దట్, హీ విల్ గో అగెనిస్ట్ దట్. He learns only by observation. So how you behave, your children receive training likewise, not how you teach them. You give them ideals as teaching, and if you are not behaving in a proper way, don't think they will go on the right track. They will observe us, and they receive their training from us, and if we behave properly, they become proper people. And if our behavior is not good, though you take all the care to send him to good educational institutions, send him to good tuitions and all that, they won't pick up the proper character. They don't understand the proper values. This is the wonderful thing. Therefore, learning can take place without teaching. A classroom teaching is not everything about learning. Learning goes by observation mostly. Even with adults, it happens. Next, teaching is unimaginable without learning. But see, learning can happen without teaching. But when teaching is there, you cannot imagine it without learning. If nothing is learned, what is the purpose of teaching? Ridiculous. It does not make sense to have any teaching at all. So when teaching is there, there is some learning. But for learning to be there, it is not necessary that teaching should be there. Learning can happen even without teaching. So these are the various points. What happens is, how the questions are set is, characteristics of please identify the characteristics of teaching. This is the question. He gives about 7 or 8 options below that. Out of those things, 3 or 4 points may be there like this, and 3 or 4 points which are not related to characteristics of teaching. So you have to identify them, and you have to mark them A, C, D or B, E, F like that. Therefore, you have to learn and remember all these things in the same manner. This is how it happens. So we'll go to the next slide. Basic requirements of teaching. What should be there? for the teaching learning process. We are now concentrating only on teaching learning process. That is why we are calling this topic as teaching aptitude. Means what is the taste you have in the profession of teaching? It is your aptitude towards the teaching profession. This is being tested. Therefore, we have to learn so many factors around teaching and learning, teachers and learners, and these educating processes. So now basic requirements of teaching. What are the basic requirements of teaching? Teaching essentially includes a teacher, a learner, subject matter, and the environment. As I said, these are all the different variables. Teacher is an independent variable and student is a dependent variable. We have already discussed this. And then different methods, different strategies and learning materials are intervening variables. As I said, study material in the sense, it includes your syllabus, your material prepared by the teacher, various other books to be referred, and various teaching aids shown, various maps, various charts, etc. All these things make study material. Therefore, these are all called intervening variables. And then patience, motivation, and determination are the real forces. Patience, it is necessary. Both the teacher as well as the student should have patience to learn. Patience, when patience arises, when he has passion, means the learner should have a passion towards what he is learning. Don't go for learning only for acquiring a job or for acquiring a qualification or to make some money. Then good learning won't go there. Good learning goes when you have passion. When you have passion, you will have the patience to work hard and to try to understand things and try to remember things and try to perform well in your educational career as well as afterwards in your regular life. So there should be patience. This happens to be with both the teacher and the student. The teacher also should have patience. There would be some dull students who do not understand facts and figures, even on repetition. But the teacher should have patience to repeat until the student learns. Still, if he cannot learn, he should understand why he is not able to catch things, and he has to invent proper procedures to check him. That is the important thing here. So it requires patience and motivation. As I said, the motivation is not for a job or making an earning. The motivation is to learn something. A learner's motivation should be, first of all, for learning something. If you are good in what you are learning, automatically jobs come to your feet. But if you learn for the sake of job, you will not be successful. Whatever you learn, have a grip on the subject, have a thorough understanding, become a master of the subject. Then automatically jobs come to your feet, and earnings come to your door. This is important. So you should have a motivation. That motivation should be towards good learning, and determination are the real forces. Determination, naturally, unless a determination is there, your performance is not good. It is never good. For your performance to be good, you should have the determination to receive a good learning and to do hard work. And then need for continuous and comprehensive evaluation and measures for improvement. As I said now, there should be a continuous evaluation of the students. What for? Evaluation of the students means how they are grasping the teaching process going on. The teaching of the teacher, is it being received by the students properly and promptly, and are they able to understand it and digest it? This is very, very important. Not only that, this is helpful in the other direction also. Means if most part of the students are not able to follow teaching, it points out to something wanting in the teaching process itself. So it also helps in identifying any setbacks in the teaching process also. So with this evaluation of the students, they can evaluate the teaching processes as well as the learning processes. This is very, very important. So evaluation should go on continuous. If the students are unable to receive things properly and quickly, it means your teaching process is to be modified. It requires to be modified. It requires to be changed. You have to proceed in another direction. And if many students are able to receive things and some students are backlogging, then you should understand that those people are lagging, and you have to take necessary steps to pull up those people. You are utilizing various methods. There will be so many methods which we'll be seeing into later. So that is another thing, need for continuous and comprehensive evaluation and measures for improvement. For measures for improvement, as I said, you may have to give proper training to the teachers if there is something wanting on the part of the teacher, or you have to make a proper study material, and you have to structure a good syllabus model and all that. That is another thing. And you may have to think about using your teaching aids properly. That also helps students to receive what is being taught properly and quickly. So usage of teaching equipments, and at times improvement of the teaching environment, institutional environment. That is also very, very important. So all these things and measures for improvement is that. Apart from all these things, if some students are lagging behind, how to pull them up. You have to think of necessary measures to pull such backlogging students, to the forefront of other students. Then healthy teacher-student relationship. We know మనం అదో గురువు అని చెప్తాం కదా, ఈ గురువు శిష్య అనేటంత పవిత్రమైన సంబంధాలు మనకు తెలిసిన ఈ రోజుల్లో లేవు. లేకపోయినా కానీ if some good teaching learning process is to go on and the students are really required to be benefited by this process, then there should be a very healthy relationship between the teacher and the student. Teacher should maintain that status. He has to maintain certain distance. At the same time, he should love the student, and he should give all facilities to the student and all liberties to the students to feel free with the teacher, at the same time giving due respect to the teacher and be modest and obedient to the teacher. This is how a healthy student-teacher relationship has to go for a good teaching learning process. Then classroom discipline. Classroom discipline is different. If it is an informal training, the environment is different. So classroom discipline should always be maintained. Here there will be so many, if I say just classroom discipline, there are so many questions set here, where your general knowledge and your common sense and your logical sense should come into action. For example, I can say classroom discipline should be observed. Suppose there is a student who is very mischievous. How the teacher has to set him? Can he straight away fire him? Can he straight away ask to get out of the classroom? This is how you get questions in the UGC NET examination. What are the steps to be taken by the teacher? How the teacher has to teach, has to deal with such students? Questions come like this. So teacher has to employ so many things, so many strategies to check people and to pull up people, means pupils. So they have to check, and they have to train, and they have to properly deal with those people. At times, they should not go back even to punish them severely and to take necessary action under various measures. So these are all the things for the we shall be dealt under, we come under classroom discipline. Then effective communication and interaction. Communication skills is another very, very important factor in a teacher. When a teacher is teaching, he should be able to communicate. Communicate in the sense what he intends to convey to the student. He should be clear. He should be having a clear vision about what he intends to transfer to the student's brain, to the student's brains. Accordingly, he should be able to deliver. He should be able to present things. Not simply enough if he knows it. He should be able to present it in the proper way. This is what is called effective communication. So the teacher should be able to effectively communicate what he wants to convey to the students. And at the same time, the students also should be able to communicate their doubts. Now, ఇప్పుడు నేను వేరే క్లాసెస్ చెప్తూ ఉంటే చూస్తాను, క్వశ్చన్స్ వాళ్ళకి డౌట్ ఏదో వస్తుంది, బట్ ది స్టూడెంట్స్ నార్మల్లీ స్టూడెంట్ సైకాలజీ ఏమిటంటే దే గెట్ కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అండ్ దే గెట్ పజిల్డ్. వాళ్ళకి ఏదో తెలియటం లేదు, అది ఏం తెలియటం లేదు, వాళ్ళు ఐడెంటిఫై చేసుకోలేరు అన్నమాట. అలా ఉండకూడదు. ది స్టూడెంట్ షుడ్ బి ఏబుల్ టు ఐడెంటిఫై యాక్చువల్లీ వాట్ హీ డస్ నాట్ లెర్న్ and what he wants to question with the teacher, that he should be able to identify that. Then only you save time and precisely you get answers to what doubts you have. So this is this is how it should happen between the teacher and the student, which requires a very good communication skill for both the student and the teacher. And then interaction depends upon communication. If communication is good, interaction is good, results are good, the teaching learning process is good. And then knowledge of teaching methods, effects of teaching, principles of teaching, knowledge of the subject, knowledge of nature of the students for effective teaching. So these are all the various points in which the teacher has to be thorough. That is about his teaching methods, by which teaching methods he can impress the students and he can make the students learn optimum, to the optimum levels at least, though not the maximum levels. And then effects of teaching. Is his teaching properly shaping the student? Principles of teaching. What are the principles he has to follow in teaching? Then knowledge of the subject. Is he thorough? Does he have a grip over the subject he is teaching? And the knowledge of nature of the students for effective teaching. In fact, this is the most important part of all these things. Unless you know the psychology of the students, you will not be able to deal with the students properly. And if you cannot deal with the students properly, you can never obtain good results out of the teaching learning process. These are the basic requirements of teaching. If I said basic requirements of teaching, you just read these things and apply your brain, keep your brain on those things. Don't think questions straight away come with reference to some points out of this list. This list can go to 1,000 points. So many subsidiaries of each and every point. So therefore, always your thinking should go logically. That is very, very important around these things. The questions appear to be very easy and silly, but don't think they are really that. Really, they would be very, very confusing and misguiding you. That means they try to check your smartness, logic, apart from your hard work. Check your smartness, your logical thinking, your understanding of the topic around the arena, not just on the syllabus points. So this is another thing. So now let us go to the next slide. Teacher-oriented objectives. Teacher-oriented objectives means, as we said, a teacher should have certain characteristics. To impart these characteristics or to develop these characteristics among the teachers, what are the steps to be taken? This is also important. So they say, equipping teacher with necessary pedagogic skills. Pedagogy and teaching processes. Especially to children, we refer as pedagogy. In general also, pedagogy means good teaching practices. So pedagogic skills. Good training should be given to the teacher. And then for effectively implementing his thoughts and his teaching process, he should be equipped with all the necessary material, means properly designing and bringing out the study material as required by the teacher, as needed by the teacher, and providing him with the necessary teaching aids that he wants, like any material or maps or charts and all these things, or some computers in the latest arena, computers, etc., screens, IT material, and all these things. So all these things should be provided to the teacher to implement his thoughts and his processes properly and effectively, and also to exhibit his pedagogic skills. Then enabling teacher to acquire knowledge of students' psychology. So they should be given training how to catch the psychology of student, to go in a friendly manner and bring him to the correct line. Then developing proper attitude towards teaching. Similarly, teacher నా జీతం నాకు వస్తే చాలే అనేలాంటి టీచర్స్ ఉంటారు. లేదు, నేను స్కూల్లో వీడికి అర్థం కాకుండా చెప్తే వీడు నా ఇంటికి ట్యూషన్కి వస్తాడు, మరి కొన్ని డబ్బులు వస్తాయి అని చెప్పేటటువంటి టీచర్స్ ఉంటారు. దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ది నాస్టీ యాటిట్యూడ్ ఆఫ్ ఎ టీచర్. Teacher's attitude should be very, very ideal. A teacher should always aim towards doing his best to train the students in the best way possible. This is the important thing. That means that is the proper attitude. So the teacher should have the proper attitude in his profession. That is important. And then developing self-confidence. This is always necessary. A student also should have confidence in himself, otherwise he cannot answer well. Similarly, when it comes to the teacher should also be confident in what he says. If he is not sure of what he is teaching, and if he is not thorough in what subject he is teaching, definitely he cannot be a good teacher. He cannot be a successful teacher. Then enabling teacher to make proper use of institutional facilities. In institution, there will be so many facilities. There will be meeting rooms, there will be seminar rooms, there will be symposium rooms, there will be libraries, there will be laboratories, and all these things are there in an institution. The teacher should be able to make those things useful, always making the students sit in the classroom and going on lecturing is not very much useful. He has to take them to the laboratories, he has to give them demonstrations, he has to take them to the libraries, and he has to take them for certain outings around within the college campus or outside the college campus. They should ensure that they are involved in some social work. So that is how to improve the attitude of the students, not just academic routine. So these are all the things. Proper use of the institutional facilities. For all these things, the institution should provide necessary facilities. And the teachers also should be trained. They need some training how to use these facilities available in the institution. Like there would be NCC, there would be naval wings, there would be Air Force wings, there would be social service wings. These are all the various, what we call various facilities available in the institution. So all those facilities should be used. The students should be encouraged to use all those facilities and shape themselves in a proper way. That's another thing. So next, let us go to the next slide. The principles of teaching. What are the principles of teaching? These are all the various technical things which relate to the characteristics of teaching or principles of teaching. One is called principle of activity. The activity means we know what is activity. Involvement. Not just by listening to what we say. They should involve themselves in an activity, means they have to make a hands-on study of the things. If we say something, they should try that practically. A practical modeling should be done by the students, and they should try them practically. This is what we call activity. So this happens only if they involve in what the teacher is saying, and he develops an attitude to test all those things practically, and then only he becomes active in learning those things. This is what is called principle of activity. Then principle of interest. Then how to catch the interest of the attention of the students, or the interest of the students. Unless you catch the interest and attention of the students, definitely your teaching does not go in the right direction. They don't learn anything. So how to make this? This can be made through demonstrations, through using proper teaching aids. Proper teaching aids, at times you show them a video and explain them. Then they would excellently enjoy. They enjoy. And they should be, you say something in terms of music, you say something in terms of acting, you say something in terms of gaming, and all these things are various methods by which you can catch the attention, and you can make them alert, and you can force them to involve themselves in the process of learning. So this is how it has to go. Then principle of linking with life. Always principle of linking with life means always the teaching should go in such a direction that by learning they are going to raise to very good heights in their lives. This is a central principle. Showing this principle only, the students have to be encouraged to learn, and teaching should go in that direction. And then principle of definite aim. Students' curiosity to be developed by predetermined teaching methods and aids. So it goes on as a repetition. If I say always all these things repeatedly, you can now understand. By this time, you should be able to understand. If I just read these things, students' curiosity to be developed by predetermined teaching methods and aids. That means a student to be more alert and to has to receive teaching outcomes properly. He should be enough curious. He has to involve himself. He has to raise questions. He has to involve himself into the practical activity. Then only it happens. So how to drag him in that direction? That should be determined by the teaching methods or the teaching aids they apply in the process of teaching. Then principle of selection, subject material selection. So if you are going to teach in a particular subject, how you have to present that? And what are the topics you have to choose around the subject matter you want to impart to the students? So this is the thing, next thing. So next thing is principle of planning for optimum use of resources. Resources means the institution also has some limitations. So depending on that, and also resources with reference to time, financials, institutional facilities, infrastructural facilities, etc. All these things. So optimum use of resources, whatever you have. You cannot expect every school to be a corporate level school. There will be street schools, but don't underestimate street schools as far as learning is concerned. There can be brilliant boys there also. Therefore, when it happens, that means the teacher and the institution management should have the proper attitude to utilize the resources available in their reach to the optimum extent, to the maximum extent. This is important. Principle of division into units means ఒక 60 మంది పిల్లల్ని కూర్చోబెట్టి చెప్పేయడం కాదు. You should be able to teacher student relationship has to teacher student ratio has to be maintained properly. So that is another thing. You can divide the topic into various units, the subjects to be taught to the children into various units, and at the same time into various groups of the students, depending upon their psychologies, their performances, their intelligence levels and all those things. You have to create certain units and then impart your teaching. Principle of revision, homework and tests to be planned time to time for revision of classwork. This is, I think I need not explain anything in this. All of us know this. Principle of democratic dealing. Teacher's role to be both democratic and authoritarian. As I said, democratic means he should give the students all the liberties as far as the learning process goes in the right direction. He can take all liberties with the teacher and questions him and learn things. And at the same time, that is called democratic. And at the same time, authoritarian. If some fellow behaves in an improper way, he becomes an authority. Then he acts in an authoritarian manner. He does not go back even to give severe punishments to the students wherever it is required. He should have a strict control over the students, which he should try to keep as far as possible, never requires. That situation never arises. That is important. Then principle of motivation. By pursuing students according to their skills with periodic gifts and rewards, stories of great personalities. So this also we know. People normally, there are so many scholarships like things and some gifts, and in so many competitions, so many prizes and all these things if we give, they get motivated. They feel happy. They feel proud for winning certain prizes and certain honors, certain rewards. So they get motivated. At the same time, motivation also can be given to the students by giving them examples of the lives of great personalities. So this is about principles of teaching. Then comes, we'll go to the next slide. It is still going on. Principle of recreation. You should always bore the students with the teaching and teaching alone. That's not the proper way. You have to involve them in various recreating measures, like in the middle of the classroom, we're giving them some quizzes, some puzzles, some jokes, and leave them for some, this is what is called fish market. Actually, there is a process by which a classroom is allowed to be a fish market for some time. the students, the children can talk as they like. So all these things are used for the recreation. So this makes them afresh, and for the next class, they would become, for the further teaching going on, they would be more active. Then, principle of individual differences, identifying different abilities, skills, and personalities, and address them for improvement. A teacher, in fact, when Takshashila and such ancient schools started, you know, every teacher always used to feel he has only one student, even though there are 60 students before him. Means he used to give a personal attention to each and every student, and he used to feel for himself that he is teaching that particular student only alone. That is how the teachers used to pay individual interest on all the children in their school. This is how it was going on in those days. Now it is not going on, but it should go. So what happens is, this is what is understood by these sentences. Identifying different abilities. We know all people are not with the same same intellect, and same knowledge, prior knowledge and same knowledge. They don't have the same knowledge. Some people will be smart. They know the newspapers. They read the newspapers, and they participate in various debates, etc. They will have more knowledge. Some people may not have that. Some students' personalities may be different. Some students' personalities may be dashing. So with all these things, there will be so many differences in the students. The teacher should be able to identify and understand these different abilities of different students, and try to guide each student the way fit to that particular student. And then principle of remedial teaching. Remedial teaching is only that one student is unable to follow what is being taught to him, and or grasp the thing which is being taught to him. The teacher should think of remedies, how to do that. Giving him some homework, or repeating him several times, or asking him to write and bring it, or asking him to memorize, and what are they, or asking him to go to library and collect some information around that. There are so many measures to be applied for remedying that particular logging back a student. Then principle of sympathy. This is said to be the very important point in the teaching process. Teacher should be kind, caring, and sympathetic. So, in fact, this is defined in other terms like this. A student should feel the teacher as his guardian. Means next to father. He has his father at home to look after him, to serve all his interests. And he should get the same feeling with the teacher in the school, in the educational institution. He should feel that the teacher is his guide, he is his guardian. So to get that feeling for a student, the teacher should be very kind. He should exhibit himself to be caring about all aspects relating to a student, and he is very sympathetic for the student. Means if the student is lagging at times in any academic subject, or in other things, in mixing with the friends, or making good friends, or to be active, or to be involving himself in games and sports, etc., all these things, the teacher should be sympathetic. And sympathetic does not mean just to show sympathy and get away. Sympathetic means he has to have that sympathy within himself, and use that to pull up the student and make him raise up to the level of the other students. This is how a teacher has to show sympathy towards students. Then principle of creativity. Principle of creativity means just not reading lessons. You should be able to create your own things, your own subject around the thing which is being taught to you. They should be able to do something on their own, create something on their own. Then principle of reinforcement. By praising students, reinforcement means this is motivation in another way. Means if you say a student, good, a student, you have done a good thing, he feels very happy. That gives him some motivation to work further into that, and to make a good work, and to show a good performance. So By praising students' achievements, rewarding and gifting, you can motivate the students. This is what is called the principle of reinforcement, and we are going to study this in a little bit detail at a later date. Principle of training the senses. By training the senses only, you develop your attitudes and you shape your character to be a responsible person towards the society. So now this slide is over. With this, we'll go on to the next topic. How to teach. How to teach. Simple to complex content. These are all various things. When we look at them, we think these are all the same things. Have we to read all these things? Don't we know these things? We know all those things. But when a question is set, you will be puzzled. So you have to, here what is being tried is that you have to make your thought process around all these processes. Why this is like this? Why this is said like this? Why this should be practiced? How this can be improved? Is there an alternative for this? Can any improvement be done over this? So all this thought process should go in a teacher's brain. That is important. So simple to complex content. When in your teaching process, you have a lesson where certain complex things occur. Straight away, if you start explaining the complex things, the student gets bored and he won't listen to you. So first, what you have to say certain simple things, small things. And from small things, you have to go into develop him into a complex, receiving complex things. This is how you have to go. Then known to unknown. From known to unknown. For example, ఇప్పుడు మనం చెప్పాలనుకోండి, తెలిసిన దాని నుంచి తెలియని దానికి తీసుకొని వెళ్ళాలి. ఇప్పుడు ఒక్కసారిగా మనం ఒకటి చెప్దాము. ఇప్పుడు ఒక క్రియేటర్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. క్రియేటర్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ యూనివర్స్ ఆయన గురించి మనం మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. వాడికి ఎట్లా చెప్పాలి? ఉన్నాడు ఒక క్రియేటర్, ఆడు ఉండబట్టే ఇవన్నీ జరిగాయి, ఈ క్రియేషన్ అంతా జరిగింది అని చెప్పామనుకోండి, డస్ హీ అప్రిషియేట్? నో, హీ ఈజ్ నాట్ ఏబుల్ టు సీ ఫిజికల్లీ ది క్రియేటర్. నువ్వు ఉన్నాడని చెప్తే ఎందుకు నమ్ముతాడు? అంచేత నువ్వు ఏం చేయాలన్నమాట, అక్కడ ఒక నోన్ థింగ్ చెప్పాలి. నోన్ థింగ్ అంటే ఏమిటి? ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ నా చేతిలో ఒక మొబైల్ ఫోన్ ఉన్నది. ఈ మొబైల్ ఫోన్ నేను ఈ పక్కన పెట్టాను. ఇక్కడి నుంచి ఇక్కడికి ఎలా వెళ్ళింది? ఇది నేను వర్క్ చేశాను కదా. అక్కడ నేను వర్క్ చేయకపోతే నా లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ ఉన్న మొబైల్ ఫోన్ నా రైట్ సైడ్ కి రాదు కదా. ఇది నా లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ మొబైల్ ఫోన్ నా రైట్ సైడ్ కి వచ్చింది అంటే ఐ హావ్ డన్ సమ్ వర్క్. సిమిలర్లీ దిస్ ఇస్ ఎ స్మాల్ థింగ్ విచ్ is practiced, which is in practice to everyone, before the eyes of everyone, without doing a work, without doing an act, nothing happens here. We know that very much. So you say this, then when it is something like that, for anything to happen, you have to do an action. Then how this entire creation occurs without a person acting to do this? You may not be able to see him, but he should be there, is it not? Believe that he is there. Don't try to see him, visualize him. Believe that he is there. This is how you have to take him from known to unknown things. Straight away, if you start lecturing on the creator, they get bored. So even in scientific facts, or in mathematics, or in literature, any topic, history, you have to go from known to unknown. Then seen to unseen, just as I said now. Then concrete to abstract facts. These are all the things which, this is the same example goes for all these things. You should be able to give him a concrete example first. From that concrete example, you go for an abstract example. So unless how it happens in a concrete example, it should have happened there also. Therefore, you have to accept the abstractness of that particular thought. So this is how you have to go about the thought process about understanding facts. Then particular to general. You cannot generalized things you cannot straight away take to the notice of a student. You have to first tell him particular things, and then you can generalize it. There are two procedures here. From particular to, in certain cases, you should give him a particular example and prepare him to understand the general concept. At times, where it is a normal process, you start with general fact and then try to take him to a particular decision. So it happens both ways. So next, whole to part or part to whole. depending upon the particular circumstance to understand things. You have to take him straight away, and whole to part or part to whole means in real time, in practice, what he knows. If it is whole, first give him the knowledge about the whole thing, and then take him to the subject which you want, the particular subject which you want. If a particular thing is in his practice, in his observation, then give him the particular fact first, and then the part fact first, and then take him to whole. It happens like that. Then psychological to logical. Logical is different and psychological is different. Logical means you have to discuss a thing about its pros and cons in various directions. That is logic. Psychology means psychology does not accept logic to go in its own way. Our psychology comes in the way of logic. So, but you should not say this logic should be like this. You should not say. Try to first correct his psychology and then explain him the logic. First correct his psychology and then explain him the logic. So it has to go like that. Then analysis to synthesis. Analysis and synthesis. We know these things. Analysis and synthesis means combining things and dividing things. Both these things you have to understand. From analysis to synthesis or synthesis to analysis, depending upon the particular situation. Then empirical knowledge to a rational knowledge. Empirical knowledge means a digital knowledge, a specific knowledge. ఖచ్చితమైనటువంటి జ్ఞానం అన్నమాట. Rational knowledge means a rationale. అంటే your generalized thinking. A rationale means your acceptability to things which you do not know specifically. That is what is called rational. Rational means your acceptability to things which are abstract and which you do not know for perfect. This is the thing. So from here to there, you have to take him. Then more than all these things, a student should always be encouraged to make his self-study and never to totally depend on the teacher or something to come and help him in learning. That should not be the case. So this is how various factors are given in the teaching process. So then now it is time. Let us stop here. We have come up to slide 14. We'll go further tomorrow. Tomorrow, same time we have class. Join on right time so that we don't lose time. We'll take it tomorrow. Take the rest of the things tomorrow. Okay. Huh? So I'll stop here. Thank you. Good night. Have a good day and a nice weekend. But during this weekend, we have our class. Please. So be on time, and we'll take exactly 1 hour, not more than that. And as we go forward, I think we pick up a little pace and we go a little faster than how we are going now. We may not be able to go so much in detail because we have to keep the time factor also and the breadth of the subject and the vastness of the syllabus also. So thank you. మీకు ఏమన్నా ఎందులో అయినా ఎనీ డౌట్స్ ఉంటే చెప్పండి. ఐ విల్ గివ్ యూ ది నోట్స్. ఐ విల్ సెండ్ యూ ది నోట్స్ లేటర్ ఆన్. ఓకేనా అండి? సో షల్ వి క్లోజ్ దిస్?
రేపు క్లాస్ ఉంది కదా, రేపు సాటర్డే లైక్ నైట్ సేమ్ టైం 8 to 9.
ఫ్రైడే, సాటర్డే, సండే 3 days 8 to 9. అంతే. దట్స్ ఆల్.
ఓకే ఓకే.
వీక్లీ 3 days 3 days. Okay. Right. Thank you. Good night. I'm closing this meeting. Bye.